All right, well, I would say that I am now warmed up. We gotta talk about some stuff today, specifically coaching, because a long time ago, I put on Instagram a question, what do you think qualifies somebody as a jump rope coach? Let me pull it up real quick, because the responses were pretty interesting, and I wanna go through them real quick. So here's what we got. You can coach at any level as long as the person can't do what you can do. So if you can do a crisscross, and you can help that person do a crisscross, then go for it. Being good is not enough. You have to give the right cues and the right tips to improve. Someone got their popcorn ready to hear my response to this. Superman good, that was a response. Good enough to troubleshoot and demonstrate common mistakes. Once you've mastered a double under, 5 years of experience, you have to be the GOAT. You have to at least know basic tricks so you can teach other people to become greater than you are. 7, you have to be honest, trustworthy, and down to earth. You should know proper form, basic physics, and the movements of the body while jumping. As soon as you're comfortable, you can start coaching. You gotta actually like people, and you gotta be patient, empathetic, and know that you're dealing with hearts and not just talent. At least 5 years of experience with the Grand National Championship, whether in WJR, FISAC, or USAJR. Okay, so let's chat about this, because as a jump rope coach, I think about this a lot. I have thought about this a lot in the past, and there are nuances to this question, because what I'm gonna give to you, what my opinion that I'm gonna give to you is exactly that's my opinion. I think it's very well founded in actual logic and things that are beyond just me, but keep in mind that this is with a grain of salt, and I'd be open to hearing about what you have to think about this in the comments. So just that little caveat real quick, but let's get into what I really think about what qualifies someone to be a jump rope coach. So I think the best place really to begin is to discuss what the person that you're coaching or that is being coached wants from this whole experience. And it really matters what their goal is, and that's like the number one thing you should be thinking about, or a coach should be taking into consideration when it comes to coaching someone. If their goal is just to get going and they just want to pick up a rope, it doesn't really matter what they do, it doesn't matter how they do it, they just want to turn that rope around their body and do that X many days in a row because it's fun for them and that's what they're going for. There's a very low bar to accomplish correct coaching and correct advice giving for that type of a person. And in that respect, really almost anybody could be a coach. All those answers that are like, well, if you're better than the person you're coaching, then go for it. That really does apply. But what about beyond that? Do you need 5 years of coaching? Do you need to have world champion titles? What is really needed? My opinion, I'm gonna make someone a really good coach, or actually not a really good coach, but just a jump rope coach in general. Anyone can pick up a rope and figure it out and then teach another person what they know. And there is a lot of value in that in a certain respect that I'll get to in a little bit, but in terms of an actual coach, someone who holds the title of coach is not just somebody who can do a skill. It is someone that understands that coaching and teaching, they are their own discipline. And the response that I got that said, you have to understand it's more than just talent, you're actually dealing with hearts. That is really the essence of this, is that in order to communicate something to someone, it's not just I can do this skill, but I understand not only the biomechanics behind it, the cues and tips to give you, but because of my knowledge in coaching, I'm able to forecast or look forward at what you might enjoy next. So for that person, and as someone who's been doing this for many, many years, I can tell you right now that person who starts and just wants to jump just to do it, and they don't really want a lot of tips at first, down the road, as they become more and more interested in it, it's very likely, and many of us have felt this, that we then want more and more and more, and then our original goal has now shifted and changed into something new and has grown. But if what you began with at the beginning and the information you started with did not set a good foundation, you might have a much harder time learning what comes next or even trying to figure out what needs to happen. So to me, a coach is not about titles, but it's about true practitioner knowledge of not only the jump rope tool and the skills that can be done, but also the biomechanics behind movement of the body, as well as an understanding of how to coach people. And being a coach is more than just do this, do that, but an understanding of how people work within the context of this sport and helping them along that path and that journey. And like those responses said, trustworthy, kind, patient, all those things, really do matter beyond just do this skill, rep it 1,000 times. Now, there's also, in terms of the biomechanics piece, I feel like there's a huge amount of depth that goes behind really giving correct progressions and delivering information to people when it comes to jump rope. But this whole discussion really begs the question of who should be putting out tutorials, because a coach and a tutorial, though they do not, they're not synonymous with each other, they do tend to, in the jump rope community, match up. So just because you're a coach does not necessarily mean you're making tutorials, but just because you're making tutorials does not mean you're a coach. And there's a certain place for tutorials, and my thoughts about who should be making them, because with any emerging sport, with any emerging activity, there will be these people that are the heads of their cohorts that distribute this new thing to their group. That could be a group of friends, that could be a group of people around them. There's a lot of different ways to define what that group is. But in having that sphere of influence, you're able to disseminate information to these people to help make things better for them. And in that respect, I think most people should be putting out tutorials if they are being asked for them, and it makes sense. But here's the thing. I've seen a lot of folks put out tutorials, and there is this assumption that because you have learned that skill, you now can coach that skill. And while you absolutely might have some specific cues or tips or ways of viewing that skill that can help somebody else, there's a tremendous amount of depth beyond that potentially giving something quick or easy, or like the one thing that unlocks it, though it helps get that skill in the moment, could potentially limit that person moving forward. So when it comes to these tutorials, there's, in my mind, a very easy way to go around this, which is, here's what I've learned. This is where I'm at with my jump rope journey. This is the extent of my knowledge, and here's where I've learned from. Because when you do that, you still offer up what is valuable, which is your opinion, your thoughts on the matter, but you also direct that person to a place where they can get that thorough knowledge should they choose to continue with that. Again, many people might just want to, go after it and just do a skill and then move on, and then that's the extent of what they do for the rest of jump rope, and that's 100% fine. But if there's a possibility that that person might adjust their goal and then want more later, to hamper their skills now, to set up a foundation that will limit them later, is very it's very unfortunate, and it's a bummer, because I've seen over and over again people that love jump rope get stuck. They don't understand why. They don't have the correct coaching to explain this is not a you problem. This is just a simple mechanic fix. But the problem is when you don't have it, when you don't view it that way, all of those issues and frustrations can then be effectively self-inflicted. And now you feel that it's not I don't have the right coaching, it's I'm not good at this. And then that leads to not doing the activity at all, which is a huge bummer. And people have and do drop out of jump rope for that reason, because the coaching was not correct in the first place. Now, it's not necessarily everyone's responsibility to go make sure everyone stays in it all the time, but it is your responsibility, if you're putting out a tutorial, to just credit the knowledge sources that you learn from, because it's very likely, actually I'm pretty sure it's 100% likely, that you have learned from somebody else. So referencing someone, in fact, does not diminish your credibility and diminish what you've been putting out or what you're working on putting out, but rather it builds up your case of saying, listen, this is where I'm at, this is where I've learned from, this is the knowledge that I've gathered, this is my own focus when it comes to jump rope, and here's where you can go should you want more, should you want to find where the people that I've connected with, and so forth. So like, the reason why I'm super hot on this is because I see people dropping out, and I see people growing quickly, and then putting out these tutorials that it's valuable in that it might be the unlock for someone to get the skill immediately, but long term, does it hurt or help? And the thing is, by not even recognizing the coaches that have helped you along the way, that is a vulnerability for the person you're helping, because they may not learn the correct information moving forward. And that's also just kind of sucky for the jump rope coaches that have helped you along the way, because what we see in social does not reflect the magnitude of what has actually been happening behind the scenes. And what that means is that people who in the last 6 months or 1 year or even 2 years who have worked hard at their jump rope skills and are now putting out tutorials that is really good. And many people do credit the people that they've learned from, which is awesome. But there are many people who have, world championship titles, who have spent years and years and years truly studying the body and the kinetic chain and understanding how biomechanics and bioenergetics actually do work, which is very important. People who have been in jump rope for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, which is a long time. And while it's really important to put out information and to put out tutorials and to share what you're learning, because that is the essence of who we are. This is what we do, is we share with each other. Altruism is at the core of what jump rope really is. But to not credit the people that have helped you along the way and to suggest that you are a coach it is really a slap in the face to a lot of people if you don't give it that correct preface of, this is where I'm at, this is what I've learned, here's where I've learned from, my information is this, but you can also learn more here. So I guess like the real thing is you can grow quickly now if you play the game, and a lot of people do, and that's fine, that's your prerogative. But are you really helping these people? Because it helps right now in the moment, but someone who is truly a coach, who has experience coaching people, understands that there's more beyond just what happens today, but how we can set you up for years to come, and how you truly can find enjoyment in the jump rope for basically a lifetime rather than this hot moment. So this is like the thing, is like there's a lot of like experts around, and like I get pretty hot on this because like an expert is such a nebulous term. It's like, how do you even define, like you have to define what that term means, because if you say jump rope expert and you just leave it at that, it misses the context of what you're discussing. It's not, I'm a world champion competitive jump roper and I've learned about that sort of expertise. It's different than, I've coached people in CrossFit and I'm an expert at teaching a double under. Those are two completely different things, and they're both experts, but only with the correct context. And that's why it's so important to, like, if you're looking for a coach, to really dig into who they are, what they stand for, what they believe, what they've worked on in the past, what they are going to offer you. Not like, oh, what are you gonna give me? But like, what's their philosophy? Do they have a philosophy? A lot of people, their philosophy is monkey see, monkey do, and that might work for you if you know that, but you have to first define your own goals. So I just get really hot on this because like, I see some people drop out because it's self-inflicted lower self-esteem because they can't get the skills, when in reality, it was on their coach to help them and they didn't. So it's a really big subject. It's really weird, but like, as the jump rope community that we are growing, and we want to continue to grow. In order to continue to grow, we have to protect against people dropping out for reasons that can be easily prevented. And we need to continue putting out tutorials and sharing what we know, because sharing our information is phenomenal. That's literally why we are here, is because people share information all the time. That's what it takes to make jump rope and the whole community grow and grow and grow. But like, tell people where you learned from. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it actually just helps you more if you do that. And it's funny to me when I see people who, they put out a tutorial as, I am an expert. And I guess if you've done the skill, that's cool, but there's just so much nuance to that like, you're still as valuable as a person if you add context about, this is where I've come from, this is where I'm at, this is what I can provide you, here's my limitations. By the way, here's some like really phenomenal jump rope coaches that have helped me. And like, it's really cool because it's like win, 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 win. You get to post a tutorial, you get people that are happy and have learned from you, you get to feel awesome that you've helped contribute to the community, and you've sent people the direction of other, long-term expert coaches that, have been doing this for decades. So like, man, it's like really toasty today. It's like 90 right now. And that's like, I don't know, mid 30s Celsius for people that have the correct system. I'm not really sure. We talk about tutorials and like, that's the whole thing, but like, what's the actual difference between someone who is just like, oh, here's how you learn a TJ, versus like a legitimate jump rope coach teaching a TJ. Teaching a TJ is a very difficult phrase to put together, by the way. Say that like 20 times fast. An example of someone who understands biomechanics will do something like this for like a TJ. Rather than saying, rep it over and over, jump higher, cross a little farther. Technically those still matter and they help, but there's a big difference between that and, hey, let's break it down first to a swing toe double, because when you do that swing toe double, you need to, hold on, let me show you. Okay, that ought to do it. I might jump out of frame here. So let's say someone has a TJ like this. Okay, so how do I fix it? Someone who's trying to put out good information but might not fully understand the biomechanics would say, go up higher, right? Cross closer to your body, cross farther, jump higher. These all are things that could help. Is the person really registering that? And there's not really a yes or no, because it depends on what's going on, but but there's another way to do this. I'm gonna show you that. So based on biomechanics, we know that there's certain principles the body follows in order to do multiples or toads or TJs the correct way. So you could potentially break it down like, okay, I understand that you were really hunched over and that you're really wide. Like, let's get all of this really efficient so that you spend less time moving away from your body and keep everything nice and compact in the TJ, right? So you would say, let's do a swing toe double, single out of that, and we're gonna keep our hand really tight to each other. We're gonna isolate the issue, which is your swing into the toed position. So you would go like, okay, swing toe double. So boom. That's so much easier than trying to hit a full triple under, and that can really help someone. Okay, I can isolate, I can go from this to that, and that makes a massive difference. From there, you could add a double under after, right? 1, 2, 1, 2, boom. And now the person's getting used to not only transitioning from swing into a toad, but also out of the toad into a double under, and learning what it's like to go from a toad placement into an open position, boom, crushing it. So like, that's like not even all of it, but like, you can see how there's just a lot more there than like, go up higher, right? So let me, hold on, let's get a little closer and talk here for a second. So that's kind of like the spiel, right? Is like, at the end of the day, it's kind of a bummer to not credit people who have been in jump rope and have been coaching for decades, just because that kind of sucks. But at the same time, like, the real issue is that we are a group of people that are here after the same goal, and to miss the correct knowledge and to then blame yourself and become kind of bummed out about yourself because you can't do this skill, that's what we want to protect against. Because if we have too much of that, we're going to lose jump ropers and we're just not going to grow as much, or potentially even diminish. So like, put more knowledge out, credit the people that you've learned from, be cool, be like really honest with where you're at, and give the right context about where you are, because the more honest you are about this and the more honest you are about your own jump rope journey, the more credibility you have no matter what. So like, I don't think there's anything else I want to talk about. Hold on, I wrote notes down. Okay, yeah, there is actually one more thing that I want to talk about, and it's this. There's like tiers of coaches. We have coaches that are like really beginner, that understand a very fundamental set of skills because they can do them. There's like an intermediate level where like you're starting to understand a little bit of the patterns and how things work together. And then there's like a legit like pro jump rope coach that really has a lot of years, not only in understanding jump rope skills, how the skills work, but like they get jump ropers and they understand the path of how a jump roper goes from never knowing anything about jump rope to then picking up a rope and then now getting to whatever point they're at today. And those people they've worked with and the information they have is just, it's a different level. And to choose the right coach, again, comes back down to what is your goal. Because depending on your goal, different coaches will fit, and you will find differences in all of them. Another quick example is like backflips. Like if you ever learned a backflip, or even if you've just seen people do it, gymnasts learn with a very clear progression so that they can then go straight up, do a flip, come down, and then use that to then do a double backflip, or like a back half, or like a back full. Like all of these things matter because they stack up all the skill, which is the exact same with jump rope. A different example of that would be someone like a tricker who is not going through formal gymnastics training, but just kind of chucks a back tuck. They can get to the same point. They might have more difficulties, maybe not, because they can just chuck things, but the process of doing that is very different. And a lot of people who, like myself, like I am someone who learned a back tuck from gymnastics at first, but then just kind of learned other flips by just chucking them and doing them. And I relied on some biomechanics, but I don't have the prettiest form on my flips. And at the same time, there are some roadblocks that would have been solved if I had learned differently in the beginning. I think I'll just end with like, I've been thinking about backwards EKs a lot. So I'm gonna show one of those because it's pretty fun. And then I'll close it out. Backwards EK. That's not a backwards EK, that's a 360. Backwards EK. Oh. I literally got it and the camera stopped recording. I hate when that happens. There it is. Pretty gross, but still got it. All right, that's it. I'll see you guys next time.